Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with another episode of Ask Dave. Today's question comes from Jerry Felice, KA4OBT, and he has a question about baluns. Now, a balun is something that we use in transmission lines or around antennas that changes the relative impedance of an antenna or a transmission line from one thing to something else. Now, this is an interesting question. Question one, can you explain why someone would use a 200 ohm antenna instead of a 50 ohm antenna? No, I can't. All I can say is that there are different types of antennas, and these antennas are generally put up and then you find something to match to them. Now, where the 200 ohms comes from is a very common balun. I don't know why it's common, but it is 4-to-1 balun. And that will take 50 ohm standard coax up to 200 ohm output. Now, where do you find a 200 ohm antenna? I have to say I'm not really sure, because you don't design antennas at the amateur level to have a specific impedance. Rather, you choose from a variety of antennas, each of which has an intrinsic impedance, and then you match that. Now, in the process of constructing the antenna, you are going to find various things that may be a little bit different. Now, so let's talk about your basic antennas. The dipole is often said to be 50 ohms. The dipole input impedance actually varies quite a bit depending on its height above ground. If you take it up to full dipole height, which is half a wavelength, you'll find that the impedance is about 70 ohms. So if you want to put a balun there, a transformer balun, you've got to somehow come up with the right turns ratio on that, which is going to be difficult because at RF, the transformer is physically smaller. It has fewer turns around the core than a lower frequency device would have. So you've got to come up with some ratio that gives you 70, or you can feed it with 70 ohm line like RG6 from Home Depot, and then just put that into your antenna tuner and tune it out right there. Now, another thing that you can consider, as a dipole comes down toward the ground, the impedance comes down too. And at the height most people put up dipole antennas, 50 ohms is as good a generalization as anything. You can use the piece of software from the league, from the antenna book, called Transmission Line for Windows, or TLW, which you can show you exactly what is happening in there. Now, a folded dipole is a 300 ohm antenna. 300 divided by 50 is 6, so you need a 6-to-1 balun. How are you going to get that? I don't know. Usually these are fed with ladder line and then into a wide range antenna tuner and then tuned from there. Now, you've got your loops, your delta loop and your square loop and all sorts of other antennas that have wide varying various impedances. Usually we try to feed these with ladder line or window line and then let the tuner match the two. Now, you've got some antennas that have really wacko input impedances, like the so-called 43-foot vertical, which had a vogue about 10 or 15 years ago. This is simply a 43-foot high piece of aluminum, guide is necessary, insulated from the ground, and then you have a massive radial system. But what's important here is you need to put the antenna tuner right at the base of the antenna so that there is no feed line. And the antenna tuner will take care of matching that for you. Now, these antennas are generally considered good in the lower bands, like 160, 80, 40. But by the time you're getting up to 20, you might want to go with a smaller antenna. So, lots of different types of things. Again, the paradigm is pick the type of antenna and then figure out how to match it. Now, if you want to get really hairy, you can start playing with Maxwell's equations and come up with a way to design an antenna that's going to be under 200 or be 200 ohms. I don't know of one. And for that reason, I don't know why the 4-to-1 Balun is so popular. It is, I think, just because it's easy to make. And you can get them from like Balun Designs, whole different kinds, many different kinds of baluns. So what I would say is figure out what your antenna is, and then figure out how to match it best. For example, if you want to match to an end-fed half-wave dipole, a 49-to-1 Balun gives you a impedance at the end of, 2250 ohms. Pretty high impedance, but that matches pretty well at the end of a practical dipole, and you can match it that way. You can match off-center fed dipoles. Find the 200 ohm point, 50's in the middle, the very high impedances at the ends. Find a spot in there somewhere where you can feed it with 200 ohms. That's where you can use your Balun there. Although usually that would be a current Balun that feeds it, and then a voltage Balun to do the unbalanced to balanced conversion there. So question 2, where can I find the formula? In some college, Fields and Waves textbook maybe, or on antenna design in some graduate level course could help you figure that out. For ham radio operations, standard practice is to find an antenna you like and then match to it. Okay, so I hope that helps. If you have been listening this far to this video, please subscribe and like and share. Tell other people about it. There are a number of ways that you can support this channel. You can go to patreon.com/KE0OG. And until we next meet, 73.